This concludes the first part of the ceremony. We shall now view the arrival of the King's Troop of the Royal Horse Artillery. Guests can be seated. May I ask photographers not to take pictures with flashlights, please. This may frighten the horses. Hier beëindigen we het eerste deel van de plechtigheid. We aanschouwen nu de aankomst van een eenheid van de koninklijke rijdende artillerie, de King's Troop. Genodigden kunnen gaan zitten. Aan de fotografen wordt gevraagd om geen foto's te nemen met flitslicht. Het kan de paarden doen schrikken.
So the gun carriage drawn by the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery is brought to the Menin gate for the 70 sandbags of soil to be placed on it by school children from Belgium and from Britain in a remarkable ceremony which will all lead to the centenary commemorations next year, marking the 100th anniversary of the start of the First World War. Each sandbag filled with soil from the Flanders battlefields, from the cemeteries. It is difficult to drive more than 5 minutes in this part of Europe without seeing cemeteries, some huge, some small, but all marking a particular part of the fighting during the First World War. Soldiers from the Household Division, represented by the Duke of Edinburgh today, also paraded at the Cenotaph in London yesterday.
I invite Mr. Andrew Wallis, curator of the Guards Museum in London, to explain the project of the Flanders Fields Memorial Garden and to accompany the ceremony of the sacred soil. De heer Andrew Wallis, conservator van het Museum van de Guards in Londen, legt het project van de Flanders Fields Memorial Garden toe en begeleidt de plechtigheid van de Heilige Aarde.
Andrew Wallis, this is a moment 5 years in the making. It was his idea, and he said it was the toughest thing he's had to do in his career, and this is a huge moment for him as he explains what's about to happen.
Your Royal Highnesses, Minister President, Deputy Prime Minister, Ambassadors, Ministers, Senior Officers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. As previously stated, my name is Andrew Wallis. I'm the curator of the Guards Museum in Wellington Barracks in London. In 2008, the idea was born to create a memorial garden in London to commemorate and honour the sacrifice made nearly 100 years ago on the battlefields of Flanders. It has taken a long time and a lot of hard work to bring this memorial into being, but the garden is now ready to receive this rich and valuable soil from the 70 battlefields where soldiers of the Guards regiments fought and died. The memorial garden is located in Wellington Barracks in between the Guards Museum and the Guards Chapel, the temporal and spiritual homes of the Guards, and it is within sight of the main drill square from which many of the 4,096 Guardsmen who marched away never to return. I am frequently asked, why choose just the Guards regiments? And the answer is simple. The Minister President, Chris Peters, was kind enough to choose this project to be the launch event of this important region's Great War centenary commemorations, because the Guards regiments represent all 4 countries of the United Kingdom, and they also represent both cavalry and infantry. In the same way that these 70 bags of soil represent all the battlefields of Flanders, these 7 regiments represent all the British Expeditionary Forces who gave their lives for freedom. We are thrilled that well over 1,000 British and Belgian schoolchildren were involved in collecting this sacred soil earlier in the year, and a selected group of them will shortly help load these bags onto the gun carriage for the journey to London. This has never been done before, This is the first time soil has been allowed to leave the battlefields, and I would like to publicly thank the Commonwealth War Graves Commission for their wonderful support during this project and for allowing this to happen. Everything here today has a significance. All 7 Guards regiments represented here fought with distinction in Flanders in the Great War and carry the battle honours on their colours and standards. This gun carriage dates from the Great War. The sandbags that are used to contain the soil have been made by the same Belgian company that made the sandbags used in the trenches in the Great War. And the forebears of the musicians you see here travelled to Flanders with Captain John Mackenzie Rogan, their director of music, when he took the band of the Coldstream Guards into the trenches here in Ypres to play for the troops under fire. I would ask the boys and girls opposite me, and indeed all of you here present, to be conscious of the eyes watching you today. The eyes of the 4,096 Guardsmen who died, the eyes of the 54,389 names of soldiers who have no known grave on this Menin Gate Memorial, and the eyes of the 550,000 soldiers who died here in Flanders for our freedom. We owe a great debt to the generation that marched away and never came home, one that can never be fully repaid. But we should at least try to lead better lives to show their sacrifice was not in vain, and to show we will never forget. The loading will now commence. These are the battlefield cemeteries. Charleroi Communal Cemetery. Angers Communal Cemetery. Lutze Communal Cemetery. Mons Communal Cemetery.